Shan'Tell, let's talk like specific logistics now, like step by step, because I want to make sure any woman who's watching this has an idea of what to do. So please explain the breakdown, the step-by-step process that you all went through to go from 2 incomes to 1.
So as I mentioned earlier, just personally, before we got married, I did the Dave Ramsey program. So I had some credit card debt. You know, when you're younger, in my earlier, I'm a millennial. When credit cards first came out, you didn't have to apply. They would mail them to you, in the mail. So in college, I was 18 in high school because I have a late birthday. I came home from games, and my mom didn't open my mail. Oh, there's your mail. It's a credit card,
right,
with an S,
right,
on the table. So I had credit card debt as we got married. Before we had kids, I started paying it off, but I still had some debt. So the first step was I started working the plan. Debt snowball. Mm-hmm. I had my car. I paid off anything that I could, because at the time my husband, he paid the mortgage or whatever, and I paid the utilities. I paid whatever bills I created, which at the time was a lot of credit.
Right, you had that credit card debt.
I was still trying to get off credit card debt.
Right.
So that was the first thing. I started working the steps. As I said, I paid off my car early. Then that only left me with daycare utilities. And I said, well, I've always had 2 or 3 jobs, so I can use those and still cut down on expenses. So we looked at how much we was spending out on daycare, which was about going back to the $10,000, about $2,000 a month with late fees, late pickup.
Wow.
Trying to do aftercare.
It's a lot of money.
That aftercare is
trying to do aftercare or anything we could to try to avoid a late fee, a day here, a day there. And we just started working at seeing what we can cut, downsizing. Is this a need or a want?
Give us some examples of what you downsized.
For a while, cable. Downgrade the package. Okay. It doesn't have to be $200 or $300.
Right.
A $200 or $300 bill. I used to get my hair done every week, every 2 weeks. Started with once a month. Nails, that adds up.
Right.
So things that weren't, if it wasn't a need, we started there.
And so how was that how did you adjust personally? So now I'm not getting my hair, Black woman staple, that hair and those nails, I'm not getting that. How were you able to keep going and feel like this is worth it?
Hair and nails don't bother me much.
Okay.
I'm an athlete, so I did those things to be in the male-dominated field, to look presentable, to look as if I fit in. I never wore my hair is natural, but you would never know it because I never wore it natural. So.
But what is something that you had to downsize or give up that was painful for you personally?
Travel. I love to travel.
So how did that change? How often, the frequency, where you...
So you went from vacation once a year to...
A major vacation once a year.
Okay.
Smaller vacations here or there. But that stopped.
Completely.
For how long?
Maybe 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And now that you're on this side of it, do you feel that it was worth it?
Yes.
Okay. I could tell you were going to say that.
And so how would you tell somebody to keep that focus while you're feeling that pain? Like, oh, I really want to go to homecoming. I want to go to whatever, this girls trip or couples trip. Like, what are you telling yourself when those opportunities come up and you have to say no?
I just say no. I'm an honest person, as you know.
Right.
If I can't do it, it's not that I don't want to do it.
Right.
I just pick and choose what's most important at the time.
That's discipline.
Right.
Beyond.
Because
right.
I have...
No question about that.
My sorority life,
which is expensive.
Is expensive.
Very
so you
expensive.
kept that.
So
you stayed
I kept that.
organized. So
okay.
that was important to you.
That's one thing that I didn't
That
give up.
That was one of your non-negotiables.
And that was one thing that was strictly for me.
Right. Love that.
Which is
So,
important.
Everything else, I can waiver, I can make it work, but the travel, we major travel, we gave that up. If we're not from here, so if it wasn't going home or somewhere we had to be.
And so I hear you say that you left your job in higher education, but did you keep the other things that you were doing to generate some income, or did you give those up too? Okay.
I kept doing those because I could do those in the evening. So we could trade off.
Okay.
Tax season training is from September to December, January to April, May. I could do that in the evening, or if he took a day off, I could go in.
And what is that required based on your budget? So it's not like, oh, I'm doing this for fun or just for some extra money. Are you all doing that for you all to survive, or are you all doing? Okay.
That's something I've been doing since I learned how to prepare taxes in college, for the volunteer program.
VITA.
Yes. And I just turned it into an income generating household thing before I had kids, and I just kept doing it.
Right.
And the money from that actually was supporting my extracurricular sorority,
activities,
travel.
Right. Got it.
I didn't use my primary income to support my extracurricular activities.
So, Ani, what I think I'm hearing is beyond the discipline is already knowing what you can do to generate some income.
What are those side hustles?
Right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. And not just having the idea, but having that up and going.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. Seemed like I could see how that would make the transition a lot easier too, to take some pressure off.
Right.
And to have some extra money to do the things that you want to do. Right.
So what about benefits? Did you carry the family benefits?
I did.
And so what did that look like?
They were expensive. So we just rolled with the punches and rolled them over to my husband's. He worked in corporate America, so they had great benefits.
More expensive?
Less expensive.
Really?
Maybe not as good as the state benefits, but they were good.
So that was seamless.
Yes.
But let's talk about some of the longer term things like the retirement, 401k, because now that you're not working, how and not contributing to that through your company, how are you all handling that? What's your plan?
So the plan is to max out raw IRAs. We haven't gotten to that point each year, but that is the plan. My husband carries high disability insurance, so if something happens to him, if he loses the ability to work, we're still get covered because the plan that he has is 70%.
Okay. I was going to ask
income.
you how much, because 80 is about the max.
Yes.
Most people will let you get,
right.
And because we did the same thing recently, so you have some protections in place.
Yes.
That's really what you're saying.
That was one of my questions, though. What was your plan if something happened to your husband? Whether he became sick, disabled, passed away, and you would miss that source of income. Right. So you all intentionally created a plan for that as well.
We've always carried health insurance, life insurance. Even from the moment our kids were born, they've had life insurance. My husband works in the financial space, so he's always done something with insurance, financial planning, etc. So
it really wasn't a worry for you guys.
It was
an easy transition.
From the day our kids were born, they had 529s, life insurance, health insurance. So,
right. But what that makes me think, though, Shan'Tell and even Ani, is that you feel secure. Because I think a lot of women that I've talked to about this feel too vulnerable to do this. They feel too dependent to do this.
I think it can be definitely a vulnerable and state, and even like I'm talking personally for me, and I still work, but now, and me and my husband work in the same field, which is very interesting, but he makes way more money than me. Be in my feelings. I'm not even gonna lie about that, guys. I'm in my feelings, and I bring some income in, but I do feel secure as well, and I often just wonder how do you feel that secure? It's just because of your relation. I'm assuming it's your relationship with your husband and your. So I guess why do you feel so secure?
It wasn't always that way. I saw this as I'm doing what I have to do for my kids, for my family. So in some ways, you have to take yourself out of that and how you feel about it in the moment. and go for this is what we need at this moment, because we don't have, at the time, we didn't have any family here. We didn't have a support system. So it was either daycare or the neighbor that we may know or a friend who was willing
Right.
to do these things.
Right.
And coming from a family who didn't allow that, that was hard.
So because you had your family also saying, what are you doing?
Right.
Yes.
How are you raising these
And
kids?
expectation.
Literally to the point where when I had my first son, my mom came and stayed for the first 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Until she had to, she wasn't retired at the time, until she had to go back to work.
She probably was like, can you move back, please, so I can take care of my
She
baby?
knew that wasn't going to happen, but that was her thought. This is my baby, and we have to find someone that's really going to take care of him, and I don't think daycare is the place.
Right. Well, one more financial question for you. So how do you and your husband handle bills and money? Because it sounds like you all have a real commitment and a plan. So do you all meet weekly? You all meet monthly? Are you in charge? Is he in charge? You all work together? Like, what does that look like in your household?
In the beginning, I did the budget.
Okay.
And put our money in envelopes. This is what we have.
So you did the true Dave Ramsey.
Literally.
Yes, until the envelope, just couldn't be used anymore.
Right. Like for real.
And then after a while, handling both of the kids, we easily transitioned. I say, okay, I think you can take this over now. And then we talked about it and discussed.
So I'm gonna go back to the 401k thing. You had a 401k or a 403b.
Yes, 403B.
Did you take out your money, leave it invested? Are you actively investing it?
I took it out.
Okay.
Invested some, 520, added more to 529s, things like that for the kids. As a state employee, the 403B doesn't grow as much as people think it does. And I was shocked at how little I had after being there
For
almost
10
10 years.
Wow.
And were you eligible for any pension? Is 10 years enough to be paid into the system?
So I quit 1 month before my 10 years.
Listen, girl, we need to go back and work for a month. Because you can go back and work for a month and get, you can do that, can't you? I'm pretty sure it's not continuous. I think it's just cumulative.
sure.
Cumulative time.
I need you to look that up.
But believe it or not, the matching still would, the cost of daycare,
No,
it
it
wouldn't
for
have-
now. Later. Think about it like that. So even if the kids go to college, right? You go back 1 month to the state, anywhere in the state that's going to take you, that you can tolerate. Because when you want to retire, you're going to still get some pension that you don't have to. Coming from Spelman, girl, you listen to all these women, what they do and why they go to different states. I'm like, this is fascinating.
They have a whole strategy.
They had a whole
So just something to
strategy.
think about.
right. But where they're coming from, the state gives them more. The state of Georgia only gives you 5%.
Okay.
Okay.
Understood.
So
You still.
the income or the gain doesn't outweigh the expense.
Makes sense. And so
Because the money that they would have given me for those 10 years, I would have already exhausted in daycare.
that makes sense. Daycare is super expensive.
Right.